Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to episode 76 of the VoiceOFpunk. I'm your host, the VoiceOFpunk. Now, I just finished watching the second episode of Season 2 of Gotham, and I must say that I enjoyed this episode a lot more than I enjoyed the Season 2 premiere. Mostly because this episode was very fast-paced. It was very action-packed. It had a lot of things happen to it being the second episode. There were so many, just so many things that happened. One of the biggest surprises was, spoilers, was in the second episode, the death of Commissioner Chesson, which, even though I think is a great place to start off, because basically what I want to talk about is how fast this season is heading already, and with the second episode having the death of the newly appointed commissioner, it really sends a tone about what the creators want this season to be like. And I did not think that the Commissioner Chesson was going to die this soon. I thought she was maybe going to die even in season 3 or something like that. Not this soon. But her character's death really brings about, I'm not really going to say opportunities, but it brings up new story ideas, new story developments that really, how am I going to say this? Okay, well, her death brings about a new story opportunity, I guess. I guess I'll use that word. And it's very different. It's very, it's something that you would not expect to happen this soon. And that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Right now, I'm not quite sure if this is a good thing, having her character die off this soon. But I'm trusting the show, so I'm very surprised that they killed her off this early. But this whole episode is basically follows the character of Jerome. It follows the character of Jerome, who pretty much is a Joker, and this whole episode, like I said, is basically his episode, and the performance of the actor Cameron, his performance as Jerome is fantastic. It is so awesome, his performance. He really embodies the character of the Joker, and I just feel that the show's creators and their casting really hit a home run when they cast this guy, because this guy is so good as this character. But at the same time, I am a little worried that the character of Jerome, even though the performance is awesome, I'm just a little worried that the character of Jerome is acting too much full-blown type the Joker already. But as I say that, it also brings about the question, how long is Jerome going to last in this season? And because I already mentioned that this episode is very fast-paced, there's a lot of things that happen, there's a lot of information that's kind of thrown down on the audience that it really begs the question, how long is Jerome going to stay? And because in the preview of Hex of a Hex Week's episode, you see that Jerome is going after his dad. And it really seems like, just the feeling, it really seems like Jerome, or the character of the Joker, is not going to last for another few more episodes. Even that, or even just this whole storyline of, the group that the big bad of this season named Theo, he created this group called the Maniacs, which has Jerome, a cannibal character who I loved in this episode. He was awesome. Aaron, Barbara, and that schizophrenic dude. I can't remember his name, but it really seems like that this whole storyline maybe is going to last for another 3 more episodes before it all comes down. But so far I'm really enjoying it. Like I said, this episode was so fast-paced, so action-packed. Overall, this episode was just very, very fun. Actually, one of my favorite parts is where Jerome has the Maniacs take a school bus full of cheerleaders hostage, and like further on in the episode, Jerome and the Maniacs, they steal a fire truck, and when they take this school bus of cheerleaders hostage, Jerome, he goes in and he takes, the gas hose, and he sprays the gas all over. He sprays the gas all over the school bus. And he gets back out. The crowd is, the cheerleaders are screaming, they're crying, they're all tied up. And Jerome, he goes outside and he gets on his knees and he has a lighter, and he's trying his best to light the bus on fire with these people inside. But it goes to this problem where it turns out the lighter is not working, and Jerome just stands up. He's like, "Huh, oh, this is embarrassing." He throws the lighter down. He calmly walks back into the bus. He looks at all the cheerleaders, and he asks them, "So, do any of you have a light?" I found that whole scene very funny. I thought that was really, really good. And one big thing about this episode about Jerome is he was kind of fighting for control over the whole Maniac group with his cannibal character, who I believe is an original character of the show, because I don't remember this character from the comics or anything. So I believe this cannibal character was made specifically for the show, and I love this character. This character is actually very funny. But in true Joker fashion, how Jerome handles his power disputes, he kills them. He shoots the cannibal in the face, not face, in the chest, I believe, during the last part of this episode, where they're having this all-out assault on the GCPD. And that whole scene where the whole GCPD is being gunned down, almost everyone dies, along with Commissioner Keston. The only people who don't die are Jim Gordon, obviously, Trevor Nigma, Chris Kringle, and Lee of Presley Tompkins. Almost everyone else is dead. Of course Harvey survives because he wasn't there, but Harvey Bullock returns to the force after the death of a commissioner, which I like to say I called that. I didn't say that I called that, but I think it's pretty obvious that everyone saw that coming. um, what I thought was going to happen when Harvey Bullock would have came back, I thought it would happen about maybe episode 6. That's when I thought that Harvey Bullock would actually come back, but no, it's in episode 2. Like I said, a lot of things happen. And you also get to find out Harvey that he's engaged to I believe he called her Scotty. I can't remember exactly the character's name, but he's engaged to that lady who Harvey saved during the Scarecrow episodes of season 1. So that was pretty cool seeing that character back. She was really actually kind of a bitch as a Jim Gordon, but hey, whatever. We didn't really get to see much of her character in the first season anyway, so I can't really say it's like, oh, that's not like her character, but we haven't really seen much of her anyway, so. But, yeah, so, Harvey comes back, Commissioner Eston is dead, Barbara is still pretty boring. Barbara only has about maybe 2 or 3 scenes in this episode, and I vaguely recall any one of them. But yeah, like I said, this episode was mostly focused on Jerome and his scenes, especially especially when you know that Jerome is responsible for Commissioner Heston's death. It brings about his threat, of who he will become. But at the same time, like I said, it's a little bit too fast, a little bit too much. I don't mind the fact that he killed her. I don't mind that at all. But even that last scene where he's talking to the camera and he sends the tape straight to the newscaster, it's very much like the scene in The Dark Knight. With the shaky cam, when he's talking to the camera, he's laughing and he's going all psycho and stuff like that, and it's just a bit too much too soon. Even though, like I said, the performance is great and this episode is very, very good. We also in this episode get to see a lot more of Edward Nygma and his split personality. And like I said before, I find this to be a very, very interesting take on the character, because in the original comics, or just in the comics in general, the Riddler never had a split personality. He never did. And because the Riddler has always been a psychopathic, OCD, terrific bad guy. He's my favorite villain. And I just find it to be a very interesting take on the character, and they're doing it very well, because how I see it anyway, in the scenes that we have seen Edward's split personality, is his split personality is pretty much the Riddler from the comics. The Riddler from the comics and the Riddler from what I find anyway, his split personality very much reminds me of the Riddler from Batman's animated series. Because in the show, Edward's split personality is very calm, very collected, he's very suave, very charming, and just very calm and collected, and just overall very, very in control of himself with so much confidence and so self-centered. While Edward's normal personality is very erotic, energetic, awkward, and childlike. So I really like the contrast that they did with his whole split personality thing. I think it's working out very well, actually. Um, and then just the last thing I'm going to talk about in this episode is the storyline between Bruce Wayne and Alfred. This episode really delved into their their whole relationship. Basically, the episode starts out with them in the room that Bruce and Alfred find, and Bruce Wayne turns on his computer. He's trying to find out his dad's secrets, and Alfred takes a bat and just destroys the entire computer, which prompts Bruce Wayne to throw a fit, which, you can't really blame him, but you can't really blame Alfred either, because Alfred's saying, I don't want you to end up like your dad, I don't want you killed, I'm doing this to protect you. And in a turn of events, and being so mad, so consumed with anger and sadness, that Bruce Wayne fires Alfred. I thought, even though this was a good episode for their whole relationship, because obviously before the episode ends, Alfred comes back, and he convinces Bruce Wayne convinces Alfred to come back, and gets Alfred to actually help him become better, to help him train, to help him just to help him to survive, which he's been doing already, but now Bruce Wayne is fully committed, and he gets Alfred to come back. I thought the whole firing Alfred was a little bit forced, but because I think they could have done that great scene where they're in the train station and Alfred and Bruce are talking and he convinces Alfred to come back. They could have had that all without firing Alfred. And you also get the first scene with Alfred and Lucius Fox in a bar. That was actually pretty cool. And then Lucius Fox comes back to rebuild the computer. So, yeah, all in all, this episode is very much was a lot more better than past week's episode. This episode is it says very, very fast paced, a lot of information, a lot of just a lot of overall, it's just so many things happen in this episode that it's a little hard to really get all of it out. But yeah, I found it to be a very good episode. It was very, very enjoyable. There was a lot of funny moments in there, again in the train station where Bruce tells Alfred, okay, I'm going to listen to you, Alfred. I'm going to follow your every move, your every lead, but you're going to have to rebuild a computer. And Alfred's like, rebuild a computer? Professor Bruce, I don't know a damn thing about that. And Bruce just says, it's not my problem. I wasn't the one who broke it. I like that whole part. I thought that part was a really nice exchange between those two. But yeah, overall great episode. I thought this episode was really good. I thought it was very well done, and I cannot wait until next week's episode. So I'll see you guys next time with my review of next week's episode. Bye, guys.